We're live.
Good
Now we're live.
Good morning.
Max
Good morning,
supposed to open
everyone.
this up.
Good morning, everyone. We got to get Jack's not live, but me and Mac are live. So
Yeah, we're more live than most people, Jim. I'll tell you that.
Well, I was told I didn't have time to get a cup of coffee, and I did. As it turned out, I would have had time.
yeah.
Right. Well, get a cup of coffee, Jack.
But we're live now. I can't.
I know we are. We've been telling you.
We've been live for a minute now.
Yes, we
Okay,
have.
but listen, I'm not giving anyone any reason to say I broke my contract.
I don't blame you, Jack. I wouldn't do that either. So, people like Jim and Jack said, we are live right now. We have one listener, and we'll build that up as we go along, no doubt. Thanks for tuning in. We love having you. We love hearing your comments. We love everything. We love everything about you guys. So come on in and tell us what you think. So guys, of course, the biggest thing is Major League Baseball, right? The standings, the scores. Of course, I'm going to get. I got Jack's thoughts before, but I'm going to get your thoughts too, Jim.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on the standings? I mean, are the Yankees really capable of continuing this craziness?
I think they are, but the only team that really concerned, well, two teams, a little bit in Tampa Bay, but Houston, because Houston's playing at a high level too. Houston is playing they've won 58 games, and the Yankees have won 63, and they're the closest to the Yankees at this point.
I think the Yankees are 169, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm gonna, we could take a look, but
I have it right here.
Jim,
I have it here, right here, Jack, and they're 63 and 28.
Oh, okay, my fault on that.
And Houston is
sorry about that.
no problem. Houston is 58 and 31. So, I mean, that is and then you look over and, like I said, Tampa Bay is playing good. Obviously, they're not close to the Yankees. They're 13 games behind the Yankees, and the more of the races in the National League with the Mets and the Braves, because the Mets have held that 2.5 game lead, but it's kind of shaky. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm going to tell you with the Yankees, people are talking about them having this historic year. And thanks for correcting me on the win total. I don't know why I said 68. But if the season ended today, the Yankees would only be 3.5 games behind the Astros. There's so much for like a historic season. Plus, the Astros are the one team that's played really well against the Yankees in head-to-head competition.
Exactly.
And even though this Yankee year is going to turn out to be a success to yours truly, no matter what happens in the playoffs, because I wasn't even looking for this Yankee team to make the playoffs. I felt they had certain holes. Whatever happens in the postseason, that's what they're going to be remembered for, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And all the boo birds are going to come out, what went wrong, what they should have done, what they have to do. And you kind of, people always look for a scapegoat. Right now, the Yankees scapegoat, you'd have to say, would be Joey Gallo, who's hitting like 160 or thereabouts, striking out all the time. He's the one guy the Yankee fans could vent at. Even if they're winning, they kind of vent at Joey Gallo. And, so what happens in the postseason remains to be seen. Teams can go on a certain run, Jim. You know it as an athlete. A team could have a losing record, and they can go on this big streak, and it turns it around. Like the Seattle Mariners, 13 wins in a row.
Yeah, they just beat the Rangers.
Right, your Rangers, who were playing close to 500.
Yeah, they were.
And a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about a debate. Who was the most disappointing team to me in the major leagues? And to me, it was the Seattle Mariners. No longer. They'd be in the playoffs if the season ended today. I have to find a new most disappointing. and it could work in reverse. A team winning could kind of collapse. Like you mentioned, the Mets. The Mets are doing just fine. Their problem is the Atlanta Braves have been excellent, keeping close to them. And you don't want to fall into the wild card position, especially in baseball. I mean, I think it's a bit different from football or basketball. You hear the term anything could happen in one game. It's most dangerous in baseball. I mean, the weakest team in baseball is more likely to beat the strongest team in baseball as opposed to the other sports.
Yeah. Good morning, Alan. And you make a good point. The Rangers are 5-20 in one-run games. You switch that around, and they could have a tremendous second half of the season if they can do that. They're getting their best bullpen pitcher back. He just came back. His mind is slipping me, right? I mean, his name is slipping me. But they could be competitive. Are they going to make it to the playoffs? I highly doubt it, but they can be competitive in the second half. And Alan is right.
Alan should be the statistician for this show. I mean, the way he dug that up, 5-20 in one-run games, I thought maybe meant the New York Rangers lost by 1 goal or something in those games, but their record was too good.
Good morning, Rick.
I'll tell you, the American League East is a rarity. Every team has a winning record.
Yes.
It's hard to believe the last place team, the Baltimore Orioles, you know, they're 1 game over 500. They're only a game and a half behind the Boston Red Sox. They're only 2.5 games behind the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, it's and the Houston Astros, are they shedding the label, the cheating label? I don't think fans are getting on them the same way.
I don't think so either. I agree with you. I think they're just a talented team. And like I said, they're the team that's going to challenge the Yankees. And we all know that. And you're right. They do have a winning record against the I think the Yankees are 1 game ahead of them in head-to-head. I think. I could be wrong on that. Alan will get me corrected on that.
Hey, Jack, should have paid Judge when they had the chance. Of course they should have paid Judge when they had the chance. Rick, you've listened to that before. I think the Yankees blew it with Aaron Judge. When you have a guy all to yourself, you make your best offer. Case in point, Rick, the Washington Nationals with Juan Soto. Juan Soto is 2.5 years away from free agency. So the Washington Nationals didn't wait. They made a super aggressive offer, $440 million for 15 years. That's like a little over $29,300,000 per year. Now, if Juan Soto was a free agent, he would command more than that on the open market. He would. Some team would step up and pay him around close to the $35 million range. But if Juan Soto goes the free agent route, he'll be 2.5 years older. He might not get a 15-year deal anywhere. I don't think he would at that point. Maybe a little less. But it's a heck of an offer. And you walk away from $440 million. Let's say you get injured. Like I was telling Jim before the show here, Michael Conforto, the Mets offered him 6 years, $20 million a year, $120 million. He turned it down. Because Michael Conforto, who has Scott Boras as his agent, who always takes place to free agency, figured, we could get about 27, maybe 28 million from some team. It backfired. Yeah, they absolutely should have signed Aaron Judge when they had the chance, as Keith Engel will tell you right now.
Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, guys.
Hold it. Wait a minute. Mac, last week, we only suspended Keith for a year. He can get his card back next year. Okay.
No.
Make a note, Mac. Make a note.
Wait. It was a team decision because he realized that he made a mistake on the Yankees. He just was giving his opinion, and that's what we're here to do is give our opinions.
True.
And now he knows he was deadly wrong.
Well, we all know Jack was dead. We know
Jack he's permanent. Jackson's permanent.
Listen, I have a plan B, guys. You're not going to scare me. I could always become a Mets fan. The Mets will welcome me into the fold. I could stick around New York. That makes me a free agent as a fan.
You can always become a Dodgers fan.
I'm not going to become a Texas Ranger fan. That I could tell you. They're not on my list, my destination
Listen,
fan list.
I got to hear Mac's comment here about whether I'm in or out or what's the deal.
Listen, you're definitely in, and I don't know that the Mets would really want Jack to represent them in any.
I've always supported the Mets. I've never badmouthed them in any way.
No, well, exactly. And I don't know that, Mac did give the Yankees some props early in the year. Jack and I didn't. I didn't have him as bad as Jack, just an FYI, not under 500.
Well, I had him at 80 and 82 on the year.
You did have under
I
500.
throw in the towel. They're not going to be under 500 this year. I throw in the towel on that.
Couple quick notes because I was listening to you guys before. Jack, just so you know, the wild card this year is 2 out of 3 because of the end.
Right.
They're all played in the team with the better record gets all the games at home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So
Keith. Yeah.
that's still a big thing. And Alan, by the way, is on my show a lot, and he's kind of my ombudsman on my show.
He's really good too.
Keeps things on track and accurate, so he does a great job. And Joey Gallo, 5 for 40. By the way, Matt Carpenter, in about 30% of the games Joey Gallo has played, has 5 less hits, 3 more home runs, and 10 more RBIs. So that's all you need to know about Joey Gallo.
Rangers were glad to get rid of Gallo.
Oh my God!
I'm going to say, I said it before, Gallo did 3 really good things last year. He hit a lot of home runs. He got a lot of walks. And he was excellent defensively. And that's what the Yankees look at. They don't look at that batting average, him striking out a ton of times. Those are 3 big things. I mean, he actually has some upside.
If you're hitting 170, you're not contributing enough from Joey Gallo. Sorry, you're not. You're just not.
He's not even hitting 170, I don't think.
Well, I think that was last year I was referring to.
What did they get for Joey Gallo?
Oh, Alan tells me all the time about how the prospects are doing. They gave up, I think, 5 of and again, they weren't their top prospects, but they're all moving through the Texas farm system, and some of them are contributing already, and certainly will. Josh Smith, I think, was one of the guys, right, Alan? And he's come up, hit his first home run, I think, last week. So.
The Yankees rarely give up a blue chip prospect in deals like that. It's very, very rare. I mean, they did it in the days of George Steinbrenner in the early days.
Well, you might see it in if Juan Soto gets traded, you're going to see lots of top prospects and players get traded.
Oh, yes. I mean,
what does Juan Soto want? They offered him $440 million. Now, I can understand he feels he could maybe get a few $1 million a year elsewhere. But you're gambling because if his performance slips in the next 2.5 years, he's not going to get anywhere near that deal. He has more to lose, I feel, than he has to gain. Now, Fernando Tatis, the shortstop of the Padres, did a 14-year deal a year ago where he averaged between 24 and 25 million a year. Soto's is between 29 and 30 million. If I'm Soto's agent, and I'm an aggressive agent, because if I was Aaron Judge's agent, I wouldn't have taken that Yankee offer. I would take that offer for Soto because it's amazing security, to have that $440 million.
For sure, it seems short-sighted not to take $440 million. Part of the problems, as I've read them, are a lot of the money's backloaded. Which, again, I'm not sure why that matters because it's guaranteed.
I heard it wasn't backloaded, Keith. I heard none of the money's deferred.
Okay, that's just the first
That's
source
what
I heard yesterday. But again, we don't know all the details. But one of the other big things is he doesn't know. Things are very murky in Washington. There's going to be new ownership. Nobody knows the direction that they're going to take. And I think that's a big part of this as well. And actually, he said when he was talking about, his agent was asked when at least the thinking was it was backloaded. And they mentioned Max Scherzer's contract. And, obviously Rizzo said to Soto's agent, well, we'll give you the same contract Max Scherzer has. But remember, it's only 3 years, $43 million. He's not taking that deal. Right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And my question is, he's 23 years old. Is he Dominican?
I'm not sure. I think
the only reason I'm asking this, does he want to go to a warmer climate? or is there a team that he really likes and he liked the possibility of going to? It's going to be a big market, probably a big market. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of the more immediate markets.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of teams in play here.
There'll be some teams in play, but I don't think small market teams can afford him if he's turning down.
No, the Royals, for instance, can't afford him. But the Padres, who've often been considered a small market team, have changed their approach a lot. They spend money. They're very aggressive out there going after guys like Soto, and they could be in play here. And they've got some chips.
And they're in a media market because they're close to LA.
Yeah,
I mean, only a 2-hour ride from LA, so they're still.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Jim, you would know if you're in a certain city, even though it might not be a type of city before you get there, you tend to love where you're on. You never want to leave. An example is Jose Ramirez, the great infielder from the Indians. He could have been a free agent at the end of this year. And he kept telling his agents, is it enough money? Is it enough money? I want to stay here. Is it good enough? Is it good enough? And they kept saying no. Finally, he clamped down. He told his agents, I don't care. He signed a 5-year deal for $120 million. He could have gotten more years and more per year on the open market. But he loves being in Cleveland, absolutely loves it. And he stepped up and he insisted his agents make the deal against their advice.
That's interesting. That's interesting when you compare it to the Freddie Freeman situation, right? And what happened there. He wanted to stay with the Braves, all the miscommunication or whatever, or whatever it might have been. It's an interesting contrast. Guys will take less if they really want to be somewhere.
That's true.
They have to want to be somewhere bad enough. They have to want to be there really bad. Yeah. Everyone says they want to be with the same team. No one says they don't.
And some people like the small markets because of the family life and just being able to go out and have dinner and not being inundated by people and telling you, if they're having a bad season, a lot of times you can how bummed you are, but there's some pluses and minuses.
Wait, Jim. See, you played in Dallas and Buffalo. So you're saying, in other words, when your play was poor, no one said anything to you in Buffalo.
More in Dallas, but in Buffalo, it was interesting. They are avid fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed my time in Buffalo. It's one of the most unique places I ever played. And it's just that they follow that team through the good and the bad. And that Bills Mafia is strong. Trust me. They come to the game. It doesn't matter.
Plus, you got the weather, Jim. I'm sure the weather attracted you to Buffalo up there.
You're right.
Good thing I wasn't a NFL player. I never would have gone to Buffalo. I couldn't take the weather there.
No. Ralph Wilson was a tremendous owner now. Tremendous owner. He brought that for nickels and dimes, and he built that program up there. And Buffalo's a unique place because you get a lot of Canadians that come. And they are the team in Western New York, and they will continue. I'm not saying anything against the Sabres and others, but Buffalo is the team in Western New York.
Well, the state's going to have to cough up about $850 million for a new stadium to keep them there. But
yeah,
that's the truth.
They'll be there. They'll never.
That's a disaster. If the Bills ever left Buffalo, that is. I can't comprehend that.
I don't want to be one of the guys paying to keep him here, but I guess I'm going to be.
Hey guys, let me get in here for a second. First of all, Buffalo is probably the most interesting place to play. I mean, you think about it for a minute. Buffalo is a warm climate that is in the cold. It's really crazy how it works out there. I mean, if you think about it, Buffalo is just they're all into their teams, all their teams. So I love Buffalo. Jack, listen, the Buffalo Bills do not want you in Buffalo, Jack. Trust me. They don't want you anywhere near Buffalo. They in fact, they want you to probably move to a Western Coast and stay out in LA for a while.
Why would go to Toronto right over the border? But let me tell you, with Buffalo, it's interesting. A great sports town, but they lost their NBA team a lot of years ago that had Bob McAdoo
Braves,
there.
yeah.
San Diego,
And
yeah.
and
they
I
did.
wonder, guys, do you think the Buffalo could support a major league baseball team? Are there enough people there for them to turn out to make it viable?
I think because of the Blue Jays, no. What would you
Right.
think, Keith?
I'm thinking that because of Toronto, the proximity there, I think it would be very tough because they get a lot of those Toronto fans in Buffalo,
Exactly.
and Buffalo played games in Toronto and been rumored to be moving to Toronto more than once. So,
Yeah.
But
And then-
wait. The Nationals and the Orioles in there one another, and they survive.
well, you got to remember how many people there are to draw from, though.
That
right?
is true.
That's a different situation, I
That's
think.
true. And you also got to remember, Western New York is actually closer to Cleveland than New York
Yeah.
City.
Great point. Great point.
That's the truth.
Mm.
That's the truth. So, anyway, Robert will be in here a little bit. I know that to go over his stuff in there, but we want to keep Keith and Robert in because Keith and Robert agree on a lot of stuff, and it's interesting to hear them both talk about the stuff that they're involved in. So let me ask you all one real question here as far as the LA conferences go, right? We've pointed out a lot of times, and Keith, I know you've talked about it, Jim has talked about it, and Jack has talked about it, where they have a lot of great teams in this division. And to me, if you want us to pay attention more to soccer, you've got to divide this into columns. You have to have an East, you have to have a Central, you have to have a West, so we can follow all these great teams. Otherwise, we're lost, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there's got to be regional, interest in teams, and if you don't know where the heck they're playing or what conference they're in, there's always been an East and a West in sports. It just has been in every sport that I can think of, or two different conferences or whatever it might be to kind of delineate teams and have and build rivalries. But again, soccer's still got a little ways to go to get to the other major sports.
Jim.
No, all I was going to say, I think with soccer, they have to understand, just like you said, Keith, how Americans think.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. They do have to have West, South, North, so people can understand it, because you got to look at where you're at, and that's how you basically pick teams. We all grew up in the East, so the Eastern teams are the ones that we became fans of. People who grew out in the West, they don't know FC Utah or Salt Lake from Dallas or New York or wherever. They really don't know. I don't understand it.
There's an oversaturation of sports, and as much as I hate to say it, I don't see soccer ever taking off in the United States. It's basically a European sport. Listen, in the late 70s, Pele came to the New York Cosmos. I used to go to the games to see him, Giorgio Chinaglia, Shep Messing, Carlos Alberto, and I went to a good number of games. I really, really enjoyed it, but I think these sports have to have something at stake. Football has the Super Bowl. We build towards that, where the stakes are high. Baseball, the World Series, the NBA Championship, hockey, the Stanley Cup Championship. Has hockey even really taken off in the United States? Think of it.
Regionally, it's a very hot sport.
Exactly.
It is, but it hasn't. But there are too many sports to choose from. We were talking, I think, Jim, about a week or two ago about the USFL. And no one loves football more than you, Jim. But some of those games you couldn't bear to watch, I don't think. It just wasn't overly exciting. And you had other sports. If you have the Texas Rangers playing at the same time and in the 8th inning of the game, you had the USFL going on at that moment.
Watch the Rangers.
You probably watched the Rangers.
Honestly, I've been watching. Obviously, my son plays there, and they're undefeated.
Yeah.
The CFL. The CFL is more exciting than the USFL.
Yeah.
And playing all your games in one city doesn't help either. I don't think
it doesn't.
You don't get that excitement and the crowd
People like gimmicks, the CFL champions against the USFL champions.
No. The rules are different. The rules.
No, well, you adjust it. You meet halfway, like two boxes, different weight divisions. They meet in the middle. It's called a catch weight. Catch
No.
rules.
No,
You
no,
do
it's
it.
not gonna work.
Yeah,
I know it's a great idea, but it's not gonna work.
you throw the rouge at a American player, his head goes, what the heck? I get
That's
a point
right.
for missing a field goal?
Yeah.
Well, you know what the problem is? You guys are purists. You couldn't stand the idea of The Rock coming in at halftime and raising hell during the game, yelling at the team, turning a table over. One player argues and he body slams the player. Viewership would go up. That's the idea. And they would hang around the game with The Rock pacing the sidelines.
Go ahead,
for
Keith.
1 week, Jack. It would go for 1 week, and that'd be the end.
Then you have a guy like whoever, is the hot wrestler the next week coming on. I mean, you keep
But
going,
it's
get
not.
a whole
It's,
new audience.
Which you just named the only wrestler I know, and he's not even a wrestler anymore.
oh my goodness, my goodness.
It would go. It's ratings.
You like
They have
gimmicks,
nothing to
Jack.
lose. Not for the NFL games. No, of course not. The NFL's a great league. The NFL wouldn't use those gimmicks. It would be ridiculous. It would. But these other leagues have nothing to lose. To elevate themselves.
What it comes down to, and you guys alluded to it at the very beginning, new leagues. You can have all the gimmicks you want in the beginning to try to get people. If the product stinks, it's going to fail.
Exactly. I agree.
So, and back to Mac's original question about soccer. I don't know how we got out of all this wrestling.
Jack?
Mac's original, Jack, you're right. Thank you, Jen. Soccer is big in this country because you said they have to have something to play for. Soccer is big every 40 years when a World Cup comes around.
Exactly.
And that's about it here.
That's true. And it's great watching those World Cup games.
I get involved. I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I love watching that. Yeah.
I know
It
those
is a
exciting
global
1-0 games.
It is a global game.
It's a
just
great
like basketball,
game.
where basketball's a global game.
Yeah.
How about this, guys? To open up soccer and make it more exciting, do away with the offsides. Open the field up. The defenders could lay back. Open the whole darn field up. Because these 1-0 games are not going to attract new viewers.
No, but you're going to lose. You'll lose your base, which you can't do. I mean, that sport again. You can't just change the sport. You want to make it more exciting. Put live bears out there or something that they gotta.
No, just no offsides in the American leagues. I mean, you play here.
Oh my god! Hey, I got a great idea, Jack. You could just tackle everybody when they're getting close to the goal. You
That's
just tackle.
rugby, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
There
Make
you
it
go.
rugby. I'm surprised rugby isn't bigger here.
It's fun to watch, though.
Yeah.
I think that's Robert Butler who came in now.
Well, the only guy in the network with a tie. How can it not be Robert?
I think we caught him eating breakfast now.
Hey, listen, he's a sharp dressed man. What are you going to do, guys? I mean,
That's right.
he's making us up our game. That's all it is.
And
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Rick said he's the best dressed podcast host.
I think he read my email the other day.
There's no doubt. So Robert, let's get into it a little bit. Of course, always the MLB, it's the Yankees, and what they're doing this year, and can anybody stop them? And I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that they're on pace to have one of the best records in Major League Baseball. By the way, tell Rick I appreciate that. I forgot the coach that used to coach Villanova basketball off the top of my head, guys. But I'll be compared to him anytime. He just recently retired. But no, I think the Yankees have a shot to win that 109 to 115 games. Guys, there was a stat come out today, overnight, ESPN stats. Will Aaron Judge break Roger Maris's record? He is
on a pace,
a home run record because of home runs before the All-Star break. Now, it would be 7 games he's played, but I'll tell you this, Mac. Intentional walks are down 45%, okay? Oh, that's from last year. Over the past 15 years, intentional walks have went down. And guess what? DJ LeMahieu on his own team has more actual walks than Aaron Judge. I think he has a shot to hit 58 to 62 home runs.
Wow.
And the Yankees went over 100 games. I'm not a Yankee fan. I'm just calling balls and strikes, guys.
Now,
You know
Robert,
what?
I had a question.
Robert's
for you.
right. I think Judge will break Maris's Yankee record, right? I mean, to me, it's still a record, but that's a different story.
Well, that's the way everybody's talking about it. Nobody's acknowledging Sammy Sosa, McGuire, Bonds.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the way it should be. The 109, whether they win 115 games, there's 16 they got to win in October that really matter. That's
True. And that's my question next. Is we've been talking about the Yankees, obviously, but what about the Dodgers? The Dodgers have won 60 games.
Yeah,
This would be one of the most outstanding series if the Yankees and the Dodgers get there.
old school.
I think the Dodgers can get there. I mean, Dodgers don't have that many holes. We're still what's the trade deadline, Keith? Is it the 31st?
August 3rd this year, yeah.
Okay, they keep moving all the dates up, which is good because it makes us less time for football.
Let me tell you, people forget last year the Dodgers and Giants met in the playoffs, and the Giants had 107 wins, the Dodgers 106. And the Dodgers beating them, then they lose in the next round to the Atlanta Braves. Maybe that took something out of them when you have two great teams meeting before the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. It's going to be I think it's going to be a great postseason this year.
I do too. I really do. Because the Dodgers' nemesis is the Braves.
Yep.
Yes.
Yankees' nemesis is obviously the Astros.
Yep.
So it's a toss-up of who's going to get to the World Series.
I think the Yankees-Astros rivalry now is just the best one in baseball. I mean, I grew up watching Yankees-Red Sox, but Astros and Yankees right now today is the best rivalry in baseball in my mind.
No question.
Yeah, guys, I think that is Red Sox Yankees 18 years ago.
Yes.
With Yankees and Houston right now.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah, I do miss the Yankees-Red Sox rivalries, though.
Well, Chris Sale's going to be back today, by the way, so we'll see.
Well, you had the personalities.
Robert, he pitched 5 innings the other night.
Oh, okay. Well, there's people on ESPN talking about like he's coming back today. I think because a judge is facing him today.
Yeah, he pitched very, very well too. So that's a big plus for the Red Sox, who right now are sitting on the outside of the playoffs. By the way. So.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question for you, Keith, and then I'll have a question. They said that Mac Jones has taken his nutrition better, and he's in a better place than he was even last year. They really think he's going to have an outstanding year for the Patriots.
Yeah, he took his health was his priority in the offseason, and as you said, getting a better diet. I don't think he's gone to the Tom Brady extremes, but I think he's taking it seriously. He knows that he needs to get in better condition, I think, to withstand that entire gauntlet of the NFL schedule. It's 17 games now, and he wants to improve. And this kid, that's the thing that, and again, I know Jack will bring it up, the fact that I didn't want the Patriots to draft Mac Jones, but since he's been here, this kid has been like a sieve, and that's what the coaching staff loves about him. He's a quick learner. He forgets his mistakes very quickly and learns from them. And if he makes the next step, this team is going to surprise people this year. And if he doesn't, they'll finish where do they have him on the over-under is like 7. To me, that's a great over bet. But again, if he doesn't perform and that front 7 doesn't play better, the defense overall, then they're going to struggle.
And they traded N'Keal Harry to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. He went for, I think they got a couple of footballs and a
7th round pick
card or something back for him.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about turning down contracts. Orlando Brown turned down this massive deal from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you kind of wonder about that.
Yeah, but I think it was backloaded.
There's Mac back.
Hey,
guys, what's so bad about a backloaded contract? If I know I have money coming in like that the rest of my life virtually, I'm not that sad about it.
Yeah, it's all guaranteed, so I don't get it. I know, Robert, you might have an opinion on that. I mean, there was a big deal about Soto and backloaded money, which Jack says I'm not right on. But either way, the question's still relevant.
Well, Jim mentioned Orlando Brown. They can't poo-poo that. I think they'll get it right with Kansas City. You got a left tackle like that. Plus, their right tackle Schwartz has retired. And you're looking at that division with the Khalil Mack. You have a young defense that's with the Chargers. You have a young defense with that Denver team led by Bradley Chubb, a really good secondary, guys. They're going to have to find a way to pay Orlando Brown, unlike receivers and safeties, which Bates, by the way, was supposedly lowballed. The safety Jim out of Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati. Yes, Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates, which he's a good safety, but the stats don't reveal that safety is as important. Left tackle, they're going to have to find a way to get Orlando Brown paid, even if they got to take from someone else.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Now,
listen,
go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so I agree with. I mean, the baseball wise, I think we all can agree that there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be come up. But let's get to the Knicks really quick, Robert. I mean, if you think about it, the Knicks have some really big news here with the signing of the young son there. So, what do you think?
Are you talking about Brunson?
Of course,
Brunson.
Yes.
Oh, Brunson, yeah. Yeah, well, I've been thinking about this Donovan Mitchell rumors over the past few days. Because they've signed Brunson, they've got Derrick Rose on the bench. I like what they have now. I would not trade for Donovan Mitchell.
I can't disagree more, but
he's too ball centric, guys. There's a reason why they're trading him.
No, Kate. No, guys. The reason I wouldn't make the deal, the Knicks are asked to give up too much. And I think the Timberwolves set a terrible pattern by sending 9 players for Rudy Gobert and essentially 5 number 1 draft choices, a couple of other guys who could start. I think, and Donovan Mitchell is a little more valuable than Rudy Gobert, you would think, on the trade market, slightly. And now they want 6 number 1 draft picks from the Yankees. From the Knicks, they want Obi Toppin. They want Quickly. Come on.
As long as they don't want Barrett, I make the trade. And here's why. It's in New York. This is about perception. The Knicks haven't been able to make a player that's in the top 20, one of the top 10 guards in the league. And I know there's some issues to work around, Robert. I get it, both on the salary cap and the mix. But they haven't had this opportunity or been able to pull it off, I should say, since they got Carmelo. And Carmelo wasn't 25 years old when they got him here either. And they've never been able to sign one of the top free agents because there's no reason to come here. They need a star player like Donovan Mitchell to be able to track those players.
Here's my thing, and you guys can disagree or agree. Isn't this a lot like what happened with Kyrie Irving going to the Nets? Because remember, he started in Boston. He is a ball-centric guard.
Yeah.
And Mitchell is the same thing. So would this be similar to the Kyrie Irving?
Well, no, because Mitchell would play games, actually. So that would be
but still, he has to have the ball in his hand.
No, I agree there's some challenges there. But I think they could work around it. And to me, it's not just about – and if you tell me in the short term they may not be any better, I get that. But to me, it's about the future. And Leon Rose needs to show he can pull off a trade like this, number one.
Ooh,
Keith, if you're back in the day when an NFL executive, you'd say, the Cowboys offering us Herschel Walker. Let's give him a whole thing. You would have made that deal, Keith.
I'm just not trading
RJ. I could get Herschel Walker. He's our missing piece for the Super Bowl.
You give me a team with 3 guys and Barrett's still not up on the level of Donovan Mitchell. I get that. Yes. And neither's Brunson. And Brunson may not be on the level of RJ Barrett, really. But you give me 3 guys under 25 years old with the talent these 3 guys have, and I'll figure out the rest because there's not a lot of that's something the Knicks haven't been able to do in 20 years. At least.
Guys, look at the finals. Boston, Golden State. Two teams that move the ball around the perimeter, team chemistry.
Exactly.
I think this would be like an Iverson, Carmelo Anthony type of deal. Going back to the who was it? Denver or somebody? I can't remember who the players they had. And Carlos says, yeah, somebody like Carmelo, Rudy Gobert, and Donovan Mitchell could not get along. There's issues there with Donovan Mitchell. I'm not saying he's a terrible team player, but with Tom Thibodeau there, Derrick Rose, Brunson, whose points went up in the playoffs, by the way, last year.
And you make a good point. You guys make a good point, but we know Thibodeau and what kind of players he likes. And Mitchell does not fit that type of player.
He does not, no.
There are challenges, I will admit.
This is just trying to make headlines, guys. That's what they've done in the past, if you ask me.
Yeah, but not for guys with a talent that Donovan Mitchell has. I don't think. Look at it, one of the problems is getting free agents here. What major free agent has ever decided to come to the Knicks? LeBron? No. Paul? No.
Because of stuff like this, guys. That's why.
Well,
guys, this sounds wild. Kyrie Irving. The Knicks wouldn't have to give up nearly as much. They could get him for 3 number ones if Kyrie would sign the long-term extension. You take the ultimate gamble with a personality like that?
No. Never.
I'm reading what Carlos is saying. Yes. I mean, you're spot on there, Carlos. And most of the time I don't agree with you, but must have had your Wheaties today.
Listen, the day that Kyrie Irving signs with the Nets is the day Mac leaves the Knicks forever. That's all I got to say.
I told you, just tell Kyrie that the end of the earth is somewhere between Barclays and Madison Square Garden. He's going to drive off the end of it, and he won't come here.
No, I don't disagree with you guys, but Kyrie can be had. The price isn't going to be as exorbitant, okay? So he can be had. You can outbid the Lakers for them, another team.
He's got a $37 million contract, too.
Well, that's 1 year. You'd get him only if he'd sign an extension, and that would be a bold gamble, I admit.
It's interesting when you guys are talking about some of these things that are going on. That Kevin Durant market is not a hot market either.
Nope.
I mean, people are looking at it, and this is a top 75 all-time player. Yeah, and it's not a big market.
I said this in the beginning. The teams know they have the Nets over a barrel. I mean, they have to move them, so they're not going to get full value for them. I mean, that's my opinion. Robert might have a different one.
Guys, the Rudy Gobert trade to the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers. That is not the new standard. That's Danny Ainge doing Danny Ainge things, taking advantage of a team that is desperate. You talk about another team desperate to get free agents. It's 150 degrees below zero up there in Minnesota. Players get out of Minnesota, okay? So Rudy Gobert was an outlier. The Nets, Jim, are not going to get 7 or 8 first-round picks and a gutted roster for Kevin Durant. He's 34 years old. He played 35 games in 2020. He played 55 last year. Are you kidding me? No way.
I agree with you. And Keith said
that
last
32.
week.
Maybe
He's 34, Jack. He'll be 34 in September, before the season
Keith
starts.
said that last week that they do not have the advantage. Everybody thinks, it's Kevin Durant. But this is Kevin Durant at 34 as opposed to Kevin Durant in his 20s.
Agreed.
You want to hear the funny thing? Had they waited Minnesota, they never made that deal for Gobert. It would have been a good deal for the Nets to have the same exact deal, the equivalent of 5 number ones, Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, and a couple of more players. I would have made that deal if I were the Nets at the time. But it's like Minnesota now set the bar with what teams might be willing to give up. And the logic is, well, if they can make that deal for Rudy Gobert, we should get more back for, Kevin Durant. That's the logic, but it doesn't quite work that way. I think Minnesota raised the market and they made it much harder.
They said that Beverly's going to the Lakers anyway.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't have gave up Beverly. I like that. I like his presence because
He's a
Edwards
nice
is so
player.
young for Minnesota. You know.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't-
If they go to the finals just 1 year, Minnesota's never been to the finals. And look at their team now. What they have Gobert, Carl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. If they
They do
just
have
go to
some
the
talent.
finals 1 year out
Yeah.
of that, then the deal's been worth it.
And I commend on my show, guys. I did commend Minnesota for the trade to get Gobert because they're Minnesota. I compared them to Cleveland Browns, paying $232 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson. They haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback since an alternate, Derek Anderson, in 2007. We talked about the quarterback, Kozar, in 89. We're talking 30 years for the Cleveland Browns. They're desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Certain teams have to go the extra mile to acquire players. The Minnesota Timberwolves, no offense to Rick, the Cleveland Browns, no offense to my friends up there in the Cleveland area, you have a bad reputation. You have to draft players. You have to sometimes overpay to get certain moves, and particularly free agents.
So bad teams need to bring in bad reputation players.
No, Gobert's three-time Defensive Player of the Year.
I was referring more to Deshaun Watson. That's all. That was my reference there.
Hey, you know, what did Newt Rockney say? Everybody loves a winner.
But what's he won?
Playoff games. He's got the highest completion percentage, and particularly the QBR, and practically in the history of the game.
Wins
Here's
and
the
losses.
interesting
I don't
thing.
care about all that stuff. I want a leader on the field. How does a guy with this guy's reputation lead men into battle? I don't know.
24 to
here's
3
something going-
against
see,
Kansas
You
City.
make a good point, but ESPN even ranked this guy didn't play last year, and he was ranked number 7 on their polls of executives and coaches. So that tells you something.
What's the criteria for the voting?
I'm just telling you what
Yeah.
they did. I disagree with that on my show.
Yeah.
I don't think he didn't play last year, and he's still number 7. So the guy, and I'm backing Robert on this. I'm not.
That list, guys, is going forward this year.
Yep.
That top 10 list. And of course, I've got Deshaun Watson. Guys, are we watching the same games? They were up 24 to 3 in 2019 against the eventual Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. He don't play defense. One of the most dysfunctional franchises in the league, with your head coach, Bill O'Brien, was the coach and the general manager, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's a saint, but as far as a player, we're talking just being performance.
Great player.
Watson's pretty good.
He's a great player. On the field, he's a great player. Is he a great guy to have in your team overall?
Well, see,
no.
That's the thing you don't understand about this, Keith. As long as he's productive, his thing's off the field, as long as it doesn't affect that locker room, then they're going to, hey, if he's winning, all bets are off. That's the big thing. They're going to protect him. If he's not, they're going to feed him to the wolves.
Yeah.
Just like Baker Mayfield, let's be honest.
But Jim, Deshaun Watson's winning, and players like to bring the game home with them, despite what they say. They like to talk about it. They're excited the team's winning, and they say to their wife or girlfriend how good they're doing, and then they get the negativity thrown at them. Yeah, you're doing good with that blankety blank Deshaun Watson, and that kind of takes a little of the enjoyment away, I think.
They'll just buy him another ring or watch. That's all.
Right. We're winning games. We're getting contract extensions, like Jim said.
That's right.
You know,
you got me there. Okay. You got me there. Good point. Yeah.
Hey guys, can I go back to that poll again? Do you have any of you have Lamar Jackson this year being in your top 10? That was a big buzz on the internet this week.
I do.
I would say yes. I would say yes.
I did.
What about you, Jack?
You have a problem with Deshaun Watson being in the top 10? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Lamar.
Yeah, he's easily a top 10 NFL quarterback.
Lamar Jackson was a question.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. No, I don't like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback going forward long term. I see him as a better version of RG3 going long term. I mean, I just think it catches up to him. He's pulled up certain heroics. I don't look at him as a steady passer. I just giving him a big contract.
Let me ask you guys' opinion on that. Is it Jackson or is it their scheme? What they ask him to do?
Oh, I think the only reason they're still playing is because they schemed around Jackson to complement his skills. And Bernard Pollard, go ahead, Mac.
I agree with you. I think the scheme is what makes the Ravens the Ravens. You know, it's the same thing with the Chiefs. Really, it's their scheme that makes their quarterback one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
Well, he did have Lamar Jackson did complain about Greg Roman last year, but this is going to be interesting. Sammy Watkins was with the Ravens. He went to the Packers. He's with the Packers now. If he has a big year with Aaron Rodgers, what does that tell you about the Ravens that Lamar Jackson and Sammy Watkins couldn't get on the same page? And I don't want to hear, well, he was injured and so on. But when they were together, there was no real magic.
Well, Hollywood Brown going
right. What top 10 quarterbacks, lead receiver, number 1 draft pick in 2019, request to be traded?
And he said it wasn't because of Jackson. It was
I think there's like an undercurrent, like, look out for your friend, but he's not going to get me paid kind of unspoken loyalty to that because, this guy goes 1 catch, 10 yards sometimes. Marquise Brown. He was 25th in passing last year, Lamar Jackson. And they were down because they had so many injuries last year in defense.
Well, they had no running game either. So
right. Well,
that is true.
But no, because they didn't have league's early guys because of the defensive injuries. They were 32nd in passing in 2021. That's dead last in the league.
But they got one of the most dynamic tight ends in the league too.
Mark Andrews. You talking about Andrews?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what Andrews did. I love the roster, but I mean, Mark, there's no way he's considered. I think he's like a 13 to 15, somewhere around that range. Lamar Jackson, he does work hard. 72% winning percentage. I want to give him that, but paying him 45 to 47 million a year.
No.
Right.
Let me ask you this. Quarterbacks have to be a leader in the off season as well. Communicate with players, be on the phone with them, meet up with them, throw to them. Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, we hear so much about their contracts. Are they communicating with the other players on the team? Are they keeping the team close-knit? Are they being true leaders? I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I get the feeling that they're not doing it.
I think Jackson has leadership qualities than Murray. That's just my opinion. Listening to how Murray talks and what he does, I think Jackson did show up for the mini camps and off-season workouts. Murray, I think his biggest concern is Murray. He doesn't care about what's happening because people don't realize their center hasn't showed up for anything for the Cardinals. He hasn't. So I think Jackson is more of a leader than Murray.
All right, and Carlos will disagree with this, but you need a leader at quarterback, and if you don't have one, you're in big trouble. Carlos thinks that's, bunk, but it's not. You need a leader on the field, and it needs to be your quarterback. He needs to be the leader.
Yeah, and when's the last time Aaron Rodgers, with all his greatness, has won a Super Bowl?
No, Aaron Rodgers calls guys. He communicates with them. He keeps them in the loop. But no, I don't want to hear Carlos is wrong. Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that. No, Aaron Rodgers does.
Yeah, guys, I do think Jim is right. Lamar is a better leader than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is simply a more polished passer. Lamar's dedicated. He's much bigger physically this year, but he's just not. He's so gifted athletically that I just don't think he puts the time in on these simple timing routes. You don't have to lead the league in passing. He don't even have to be top 5, top 10. If he's just 15th, They're a Super Bowl contender.
Oh, no question. If they can stay healthy.
Yeah.
If that's where the biggest problem was last year was health. Because I think they had the most injuries in the NFL and then Tennessee, but
Yes.
that's a different story.
Yeah. Guys, I got to jump for my show. Great conversation now. Thanks. Good
All
being
right.
with you today, Robert.
Hey, you too, Keith.
Find
I'll
out
bring
your
you on my
comments.
show eventually.
But yeah, sure, absolutely. Anytime. And I would have wore a tie if I known I was going to be next.
All of that's for thanks.
All right, guys. Have a great Sunday, guys.
All right.
Take care. Great to see you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, guys, backstage already, we got one of my favorite co-hosts that come in and runs my show for me. Does a great job when he's not talking, in PBS. He does a great job of being excited and doing all this stuff back there. So anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Again, you don't know what the availability is going to be until like 2 months before.
Hey, Pags.
Driving.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Morning,
I
Pat.
get to be right next to Robert Palmer. I'm so excited.
Pags,
Big time bags. Driving.
You
there.
have to, before Robert goes laid off, you have to ask him, and it's your job to ask Jeff Coat, what are they going to pick, the running of the bulls or skydiving? You're going to pose the question to both.
Absolutely. If they're going to both be on here, we definitely need to pose that question.
Yes.
Wow.
So what's the answer? What's the answer?
Oh, for me, I already know what I'm doing. I'm doing it all. So, but if you guys had the opportunity, would you guys go skydiving, or would you go to Pamplona, Spain, and run with the bulls?
I'm going
I've already-
skydiving.
I knew it, Jeff Coat. That's what I told Byron Williams, that Jeff Coat's skydiving, and Byron went 100%.
Yeah, I go skydiving. I've done that before, so I definitely want to get in with them bulls and mess around. I definitely want to do that. That would be fun.
Yeah, you can run with them bulls.
Yeah.
Unless I have something to stop the bull, I'm not going. I'm going to go skydiving.
You know what? We said that. We said that you would be more bull wrestling rather than bull running.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of jokes there. If I had to do it, if my life was on the line, Jamie, I'd probably run with the bulls. Things can go wrong skydiving too.
I tell you, I went skydiving a number of years ago. The chute opens. It was probably one of the biggest highs I've ever had in my life. That didn't have any alcohol or anything involved. It was one of those things where it was just an amazing feeling, and the adrenaline rush that you get from skydiving is off the charts.
Yep.
Yeah, you actually fly for that 5 minutes or what it is, and you aim for the trees, Robert. You aim for the trees and the branches, and you hope that you don't kill yourself. You just grab onto things, and you might break your arm or something.
Well, guys, if DB Cooper can do it, I'm watching that Netflix documentary from a commercial airline in 1971 with $200,000. I may consider that with some training.
You see what those bulls do to people?
I do it with my suit on, like DB Cooper.
Those bulls knock them over everything.
Yes,
Man.
It's somebody.
yes.
Listen. Hey, the thing is that you can't stop running. You have to run and don't look back.
No.
The bulls will run around you.
Right.
Like literally, they will.
Yeah, Pags, if we're running, I'm going to trip you, and then I'll be fine.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If you fall, turtle up. Turtle up.
Guess what? I'm going to eye that bull. I'm going to eye him. I'm going to say, I'm coming after you, big guy. And then I'll come
I'm sure he will really be scared then.
Yes, he
That bull.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of bull.
He might just swap you with his tail.
Yes, he might do that. Anyway, Robert, again, we love having you on.
Thank you, Robert.
Awesome
Have a good
job.
show, guys.
Good
Yeah,
luck,
yeah.
Rob. Thanks.
All right, buddy.
So there you go, folks. Robert Butler, Robert Palmer, whatever you want to call him. He's the sharp-dressed man. So, folks, we're going to take a couple quick commercials. We'll be back with Pags. We got a lot to talk about Philly sports, USFL, arm wrestling. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about Pags with. So we'll be right back, folks, after these messages. Oh, Lord.
We hope.
Yeah.
Yes,
I like Linda making an appearance.
She's been on all morning, Pags. What am I gonna do? I can't. She's my wife. I can't yell at her. Okay.
I understand.
Yes, you do. You got one too, buddy.
Do you need me to sing these jingles for you?
I do love your voice, Pags. I really do.
This, oh, what a relief it is.
That's incredible. Jim, you are definitely on the top 10 here. So let me see if I can pop this up and get it rocking for everybody at home. Let's see.
So what do they say? Don't have any dead airspace?
Yeah, they do say that. But you know something? They're not our show, Pags. We share with everybody. It's never dead here.
That's true.
I understood.
People are behind the scenes seeing what actual radio shows do, I think. Yes. Let's see. Here comes our Dream Ride video. It's going to be popping up any second now.
Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience. August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, a fireman's chili cook-off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
We are worthwhile, really a worthwhile cause, folks. If you can't get there, it's down in Connecticut, Farmington, Connecticut. If you can't get down there, me and the Philly guy will be down there. If you can get down there, come down and see us, and check it out. Maybe make an appearance. If you can't, well, then DreamRide.org will take anything, folks, to help the research, cancer research, and the Special Olympics that they have been sponsoring for the past 18 years, raising over $18 million for this cause. So $5, $10, whatever you folks can do, trust me, they will appreciate it. And just give with your heart, okay? So let me see. Okay, we're back on, and let's see what we can do here with the Philly Sports Pack. Let's start with the Philly Sports. What's going on with your guys?
Well, as you can see, I'm driving today. I'm in the back seat of a car. I am heading up to Pocono Raceway because I get to drive Shelby Cobra around Pocono Raceway today.
Well, that's pretty nice.
That's good.
That's a good car, right, Jim? I take that car. Yes. So anyway, and with the Philly Sports, what you driving out there? What exactly? What are you covering? Are you covering soccer? Are you covering the Phillies themselves, the baseball team? Are you covering the Eagles?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be covering me, and hopefully, I won't crash the car. So that's all I really want to.
Got a lot of power.
Exactly. I hear they put the governor around 140, 150, so you don't really get to go above that. But
Okay.
I know that those Shelbys could go close to 200.
Yes. And
No, I was watching a little question. I was watching the World Championships of track and field, and not that she was on. I'm not, but I know she is a track star, Randall Cunningham's daughter.
Yes.
Question to you, Pags. Right, two Eagle quarterbacks. Who would you take at their best? They're in their prime, McNabb or Cunningham?
Cunningham all day.
What?
No question. I played against Cunningham. No question.
You take
Without no doubt, no doubt in my mind.
You take Cunningham over McNabb.
Yes.
Yep.
So you guys like the guy with all that mobility as opposed to the classic pocket passer that McNabb was. McNabb was stronger though, physically, right? Harder to bring down once you grabbed him.
I disagree. I think that Cunningham, I believe Cunningham was probably a lot more elusive than McNabb was.
Yeah, definitely.
And the arm strength, I mean, McNabb's accuracy wasn't so great. He did a lot of those worm balls, you know what I mean, throwing them at the ground in comparison. Where not only could Cunningham throw the ball 90 yards, he could punt the ball 90 yards.
Yeah.
So you had the full thing when you had Cunningham. I mean, literally, you think about all Buddy Ryan's wins, he didn't put anybody with Cunningham. He took care of the defense, but never cared about offense whatsoever. So that was all Randall.
Yeah, I agree.
That is
Definitely
true.
agree.
I agree 100%.
I do too.
Yeah.
Pag, so when we're going to talk a little bit about arm wrestling here, which you're a big fan of. You participated, you sponsored somebody way back when, and like I said, you even participated in the latest one. What's the news up from arm wrestling? What are they going to be doing next, and are we going to be part of it?
So there's been a number of things that have happened. They actually just had, literally like 2 weeks ago, the battle for number one to be the best in the world right now. And the guy who won is, I watched him in 2017 when I went to the World Championships. He is just an absolute beast. Guy's like 400 pounds. He's probably one of the strongest guys in the world. They had the one guy. So the one guy's from Georgia, and the other guy is from Canada. The one guy who's from Canada is really well known in the arm wrestling world. But he just could not hold a candle. Could not hold a candle to that guy. And it was just absolutely amazing. He got swept 6-0. In arm wrestling, you only do 6 matches. They do not do the golden match. So usually you either draw, win, or lose. Mm-hmm. This guy won 6-0. So there was just nothing that this guy could, nothing that they were able to do whatsoever. We will be a part of a couple of different events moving forward. We may be part of one in August. However, I'm not sure. That's going to be up in Albany, New York. And then we are planning on one in January, and then next year where we're going to actually be part of national championships. So we're going to be able to crown a national champion in January, and we're going to have it live on Northeast Streaming Sports.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Pags. Great work. And of course, your USFL connection there. I mean, what's going on there, Pags? Are you gonna be in the stadium? Are you gonna be part of the stadium, part of the ceremonies? Comment on the game. Is that what your thing is over there?
So with the USFL, obviously they enjoyed having me there. Well, when I went out to Canton, Ohio, I did get some airtime. I did broadcast the entire game as well, so it was hard to kind of cheer and broadcast. You can't really do both really well, so I just did most of my cheering and then talked a little bit over top of that, did some color commentary. They're looking to maybe expand to 2 or 4 cities next year from Birmingham. So Philadelphia does look like it could be a spot on the list, just because they would maybe do Philadelphia and New York at the MetLife Stadium and the Link as 2 of the possible sites. It's just because they want to keep it close to the players. So they want to try to keep it within an hour drive for all of these places. And that's because it's a matter of housing all of these people. And they want to try to limit the travel or try to be cost effective with travel.
Yes.
Makes total sense. And not only that, now you got 2 stadiums where you can go back and forth, and if something happens, you got the other stadium there for you to work with. So it's a great plan to me.
Pax, let me ask a question about that. I never understood this, but why wouldn't the USFL expand to? They don't have a team in Ohio, and you just went to Canton and you saw the interest there.
Well, you know what? So I found out that the people in Canton, Ohio, they gave away most of those tickets. Okay. So, I mean, tickets were $20. Tickets were $20. So that's why there was a good, they had a packed house. Mm-hmm. They tried their best to make sure that it was that way. So, they did a great job in that regards. But those tickets were mostly giveaways.
That makes sense.
Definitely. So anyway, Pags, like I said, man, you got everything going on. You're doing a great job over there in Philly. Is there anything else that you want to bring up?
Anything on the Flyers, Pags, you want to talk about? The Philadelphia Flyers.
Do I want to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers?
Yeah, if you want to,
Jack.
feel free. Go ahead.
I'm trying to be in a good mood today. Well, I'm so angry. Actually, the entire Flyer fan base is angry right now at this team. They are calling for Comcast to sell the team. That the entire executives, from the president or governor, whatever he wants to call himself today, down to the coach. It's no longer about the guys on the ice. It is a mess in the organization all the way up. And we've talked about it briefly a few times where I said they don't even have Philadelphia people in their marketing department. And if you're a marketing guy for a franchise and you have an office and you have Dallas Cowboys stuff all over your office, has no part. Yeah, you could be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't have a problem with that. But you don't bring in a whole nother sports franchise stuff in your office when you're
You're right.
marketing for the Flyers. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, getting off that, so we're going to veer towards the Eagles, but let me start out. Justin Jefferson, the Viking wide receiver, says Davante Adams is the best receiver in the NFL, but he's going to be number one before the year is out. Isn't that all relative to the quarterback throwing to you? Now, the Eagles could win with Jalen Hurts, but as long as he's the Eagle quarterback, AJ Green and Devonta Smith are never going to be considered the top receiver in football with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. That's just the way it goes. I mean, unfortunately, because Jalen Hurts isn't that type of quarterback, and I think we might run into that problem at Miami with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Is either guy truly going to be number one? It depends who's throwing to you. Wouldn't you agree?
A little bit. I would say that having that many weapons is going to allow people to get open. You're not going to be able to double both Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. So if one's going to get doubled, the other one's going to be single coverage, and that means I kind of believe they're going to double AJ Brown. And that means that Devontae Smith is going to be on one-on-one coverage. And I feel because of the way he runs routes, he's going to be able to get the ball a lot. I expect that when you compare the two guys, probably Smith is going to have a little bit of a better year than A.J. Brown because I think through yards, through touchdowns and things of that nature. And it's going to be because of A.J. Brown being there, not for any other reason. So I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think you need to have a crazy arm. Look at Joe Montana. Joe Montana didn't have an amazing arm. He couldn't throw the long ball really well, but he was able to hit those guys all the time, and he was an MVP for a number of years. So I don't understand why we couldn't have the same thing happen here. Now, I'm not trying to compare Hurts to Montana. He's got to prove it on the field. But ultimately, I think that you could still have a great season. And I don't think, like Jefferson talking about how he's going to be the best receiver by the end of this year. He's got Cousins throwing to him. And if they play any high-profile games, well, Jefferson's not going to have a lot of catches that day because Cousins
Jim is
stinks.
high on Cousins. Jim will speak well of Kirk Cousins.
Coach killer. He's a coach.
Yeah,
killer.
exactly. He's a coach killer.
But to speak to what you said, the happiest guy in the building is that they have A.J. Brown as Dallas Goedert. And the reason Dallas Goedert is just what you said. They're gonna try to take Brown and Smith out of the game. And the one who's gonna get the one-on-one coverages is Goddard, and he's talented enough to make some plays.
I agree.
Yes, I agree. And they also have another tight end who he was hurt last year. His name is Jackson, and I tell you, he is going to be a great player. I know that he, like I said, he didn't play a lot last year. In preseason, he was amazing. He's got some good hands. He's a big kid. He knows how to play the game. And like I said, I think that if they go to these big sets, where these two tight end sets, and then you have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith out there, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to be able to throw the ball off well. Or, give it to Sanders. Hopefully his hands got a little bit better because he doesn't really good like catching the ball. You got to hand it to him.
Yeah. I agree with everything you're saying here, Pag. So I can't wait. I really can't wait for the season to start. Actually, the OTAs and all the all the things that they're going to be doing there. I can't wait to see what happens. Who's looking good? Who's looking? Who we're going to get rid of? Who we're going to keep? I mean,
Training camp's open next week.
It's right on us. So I can't wait. Pags, again, appreciate all the work you do for the network and filling in for me and taking care of Jack and Jim taking care of you and everybody's taking care of each other. So I really love it. And again, Pags, have a great day, my friend.
All right. Have fun. Have fun, Pags.
Okay, there he goes. There goes Bags. Okay. Bags is gone. Bags flew away. He's out the window. So, folks, again, we're going to be back, and it's going to be me, Jim, and Jack. We'll be talking about our thoughts on all the things we've talked about, plus more. So, I mean, there's some big boxing news. There's some big NFL news right in their wheelhouse. A Hall of Famer and a legend that played for the Dallas Cowboys for 2 Super Bowls. So I got the guys. I got the guys. Sports Center ain't got the guys. I got the guys. So we'll be back pretty soon here. Let me play these videos. Jim, you can leave. Jack, you can go do what you need to do, and we'll be right back, folks.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, isn't he?
Let's do it, baby.
It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Let's see. Okay, guys, you all ready to get back and get this rocking here?
We're ready.
All right. So let's get a little bit into boxing with Jack here. But there was a couple fights, Jack, or at least one that was pretty good. May line up for other fights. We're talking about Boots Ennis and Spence, and we're talking about Crawford, and we're talking about all the people that are involved in this. So what's going on over there, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, last night, Ryan Garcia stopped Javier Fortuna in 6 rounds. Garcia looked sensational, like I expected him to look. I mean, he's an elite fighter. He immediately called out Tank Davis, but that fight's not going to take place. It's the usual nonsense of different promoters, different TV networks, and those fights never happen unless they basically run out of options and the money is so phenomenal. They'll all come to the table and somehow work something out. So it's all like a bunch of talk, basically. But Garcia was set up, Ryan Garcia, with the type of opponent who was faded past his prime. Once he was a decent fighter, Fortuna, but he was a little long in the tooth. So Garcia was set up to look really good, and he did his job.
So
I don't want to hear more about the Spence Crawford fight because the news is, it's going to take place in November. It's still very much up in the air. I'm going to give you I told you that weeks ago, Jim, when you said, it's going to be made and then no talk. It might happen, but someone's got to buckle. When I say someone has to buckle, someone has to concede something. Terrence Crawford's going to have to agree to give up some options on future fights, or to take less money than Spence for that to happen. They're not going to want to match Spence with Crawford if he's not, or Errol Spence is going to have to absolutely insist to his people. He's fighting Crawford. He doesn't give a darn about anything. He's not fighting anyone else but Crawford. And eventually, if they step up in that way, the fighters could always force the issue if they really want to, but usually they don't. I mean, everyone thinks they're as big as a Sugar Ray Leonard or Oscar De La Hoya. Those guys could be independent, or Canelo. Okay, but the other guys, Crawford and Spence, aren't quite that big yet. It's possible. I'll put it on a par with the Yankees re-signing Aaron Judge, 50-50. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it'll not. Yeah, don't believe this stuff about a done deal and all. Unless someone buckles. Finally, they get tired of being inactive. It's like a player holding out. He's going to hold out, and finally he figures, I'm going to give in. I just want to play. That's the only way it takes place.
Well, you got a guy.
You ever have that, Jim, a player who said he's not going to sign, and then he eventually signs. He just can't take it anymore, waiting. That may have been you, right?
No.
No,
it wasn't, Jack.
No,
They're going to fight, Jack. They're going to fight.
It comes on the Maybe.
They need a marquee boxing match, and that would be at this point.
Well, you're getting in. No, it's not they that need it. I mean, both of them, the individuals.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The fight should be made, but their business considerations.
Yeah,
the
and I
fighters aren't that independent. They've got promoters. Al Heyman handles Errol Spence's career. He's been very good to Errol Spence. Heyman controls everything with his fighters. And why would he want to potentially sacrifice his guy against Terrence Crawford? Anyone could win that fight, but Crawford would be a slight favorite.
Oh,
and if you're Spence, you got an ego if you're Spence. People are telling you, and they're sweet talking you, you got 3 belts. Crawford has 1. Why should you take 50-50 with him? You got 3 belts. He should take less. Spence has been saying that all along. A 70-30 split in my favor. That's ridiculous. But Crawford's thinking, I'm rated higher pound for pound. I'm unbeaten. I'm going 50-50 with this guy. That's what it's worth, 50-50. And Crawford is stubborn enough not to go 45% for him, 55% for Spence. He's going to have to buckle. And if Crawford refuses to buckle at all, then do you think Spence will? What do you think it's worth, Jim, Mac, the percentage-wise, Spence and Crawford?
I would say 50-50 depending on the outcome. I mean, if say Spence wins, right? And then Crawford and them will go 50-50 again. I think that's the only fair way to do this, so that it's a good fight and people will look forward to it. That's just my opinion.
Let me ask you this, and this might not be feasible, but if they go 50-50 for this fight and say one of them loses, whoever wins gets the better.
That's a good
obviously.
Usually 60-40 in the rematch.
And that's what I'm saying in the rematch.
Yeah.
And that's how they should do it. That's how I think they should do it.
That's a good point.
Because they're both going to make money, because this will be promoted. And they got to know that. They got to understand that.
But it's not Mayweather-Pacquiao. It's not, and the promoters are taking a risk. This is just a fight for boxing fans. Pacquiao and Mayweather was the equivalent of a Super Bowl. People would have parties that Saturday night, get together. They're not going to do that for Crawford and Spence. You stop a guy on the street, Jim, maybe not in Dallas. They're not going to know in New York where Errol Spence is.
AT&T Stadium, that thing was crowded for the last fight. I'm just telling you, if you get the right venue, it might not be Vegas. It might be somewhere where they can get a better, where they're more popular at. Because I know that Texas wants to see the fight.
Right, but the live gate's not as important as it used to be in the past. It's still important, but it's not. You get your money, television, pay-per-view, different sponsorships. That's how sports, baseball and football survived during the pandemic. The stands were empty, yet business was thriving. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. Business still went well. And Crawford's a stubborn guy, in certain ways. And he feels this is my worth. And certain fighters are stubborn and they're willing to hold out. Sometimes it pays off for them, sometimes it doesn't. In the case of Mayweather and Pacquiao, finally neither guy had nowhere to go. The only way they were going to make big money after 5 years of holding out against one another was to fight one another. And they actually met at a Miami Heat basketball game. Pacquiao walked across the floor to just say hello. It was friendly. And then they met in Mayweather's hotel room as a friendly conversation. Mayweather said 60-40 in my favor, but I have to be the A side. And Pacquiao didn't have an ego. He said, yeah, you could be the A side and I could be the B side, because the 40% was so incredibly big, the amount of money, like 100 million plus. He was going to take that. But, Spence and Crawford aren't, it's a boxing fan. So it's for us. We want to see that fight badly, all of us. But the average person, they're not a brand. Like Pacquiao and Mayweather were a brand. The names were big. You could throw the names out there. But this is just a boxing fans fight.
Crawford
it might happen if one of them gives in.
Crawford's daughter is a brand after that race.
After that race, yeah. With Crawford, yeah.
Yes.
So Jack, we got, I'd say 4 boxers that are relevant right now. You mentioned Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao come out of retirement and challenge Crawford.
He's fighting an exhibition. He's fighting an exhibition. He lost the presidential election of the Philippines. So now he's boxing an exhibition. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
How old is Pacquiao? Is he in his? He's got to be close to
42. Pacquiao.
He's only 42.
Yeah.
Wow. It seems like he was older.
Yeah, he might be 43. I'd have to look it up. I think he's 40.
And you don't know how many fights he's really had, too, being in the Philippines.
No, he hasn't. No, he's been a senator in the Philippines. How much he's been working out. As an athlete, Jim, you can't just be inactive the off season and show up. That's when athletes, to me, that's my philosophy. That's when athletes lose it. They lose it in the off season because they're not working out as hard year round. You work out really, really hard year round. That's why the modern athlete can play longer into an older age, because he's working out all the time.
Now, answer me this question, and I think this is what happened to boxing, is when the heavyweight division is, and I'm not saying that the fighters in the heavyweight division are not good, but they're not marketable like they were in the past. And that hurts.
When you say Tyson Fury, I think he's marketable. You put him in
he
the big
is
fight.
to a certain extent.
If Anthony Joshua beats Alexander Usyk next month in their rematch, they put him against Tyson Fury, that's going to be a massive fight. That's going to be a really, absolutely. Especially you put it in England, and it would draw incredibly. You put it in Vegas, it's going to be tremendous anywhere it goes. It'll be a big jolt. And listen, look at Canelo and Triple G. They're like a brand name. They're like Canelo's probably a little past his peak. Triple G is past his peak. But the names are so big. You put them together, have them fight, and people are going to be there. About 2-3 years ago, there was talk about Tyson and Holyfield doing one of those exhibitions like Tyson did with Roy Jones. And we had our guy, our analyst, John Scully, on, and I said, which would do better business, Tyson and Holyfield, even though they're like in their later 50s, or Fury and Joshua? And we agreed, Tyson Holyfield, it's the brand. Yeah. You even have them fight now, Tyson and Holyfield, and say it's for real. Guy's about 60 years old. It's going to do good business, as insane as it is. I'm right with Pacquiao being 42.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It
Jeff,
just
for your
seems like he's
comment.
older. Yeah. And the only reason I said that about Pacquiao was you don't know how many underground fights he had. And that's why I was saying he might have.
Oh, I'm wrong. I'll be 44 in December. We were in the middle. Like he's 43 then.
Yeah.
But keep this in mind. Pacquiao was set to fight Errol Spence in Spence's last fight, but Spence suffered an injury, an eye injury, and had to pull out. And what happened is Pacquiao fought Yordenis Ugas, who beat Pacquiao, and that's the guy who Spence decisively beat.
Yeah.
So there's no doubts that Spence would have defeated Pacquiao, and that would have raised Spence's marketability even more to have that name on his record instead of Ugas.
Yeah.
So there's another fighter out there that's causing, that a lot of people like is one of your favorite fighters that fights every 1 year, Jack, or 2 years and comes back and wins the belt. And, then he goes back into hiding again for a couple of years and he comes back again and wins the belt. I think his name is Capanosis. Am I saying?
Wait. Gary Russell, I know he was a one-time-a-year fighter. Okay. Featherweight / junior lightweight. He'd always fight once a year. Listen, a lot of good fights to be made. I mean, we talk about inactivity. What about Vasily Lomachenko? He's in Ukraine now.
Yeah.
In the army there.
Yeah.
And he says he's going to fight in October, whatever. Can you be training under those conditions in Ukraine? Can you be going to a gym? Can you be doing your road work?
I'm sure you can, Jack. I'm sure you can. They find a way.
But how are you? I mean, how are you focused on your craft?
I mean, maybe it's a distraction for them going away from what's happening in Ukraine. So I'm sure there's somewhere he's training. Now, the people who are training with him, you got to question that because they might not have the same interests as he does.
And so many fighters have the wrong idea. There's an unbeaten fighter, middleweight, tremendous fight, and I think he came out of 2008 Olympics, and he's still unbeaten here 14 years later, Demetrius Andrade. He's too good for his own good. No one wants to fight him because of the risk-reward ratio.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to make tremendous money fighting him, and you're taking a tremendous risk. That's why the Charlo brothers, Jamal Charlo with the A, he wanted no part of Andrade, none at all, because of the threat Andrade posed, okay? Mm-hmm. So Andrade, as a result, remains fairly inactive, only fights once in a while. If I'm handling the career of a guy like that, I would go to the promoter, say, I want to fight once a month. I know the money's not going to be that great. Get me on ESPN, get me on DAZN, get me on a major platform once a month. And these major networks need programming. You put them on. And people might say once a month. Are you out of your mind? That's what the old timers did. No big deal. It's all a mindset. I'm going to tell you, Jim, as an NFL player, you had a 16-game schedule in your day. If you absolutely had to do it, as insane as it sounds, for 1 year, it's insane. You guys could have played a 40-game schedule. It's crazy. It was mindset. It's mindset.
It is. It's more than mindset, man.
No, Jim. The old timers, Franco Nagurski, those guys would have done it. It's mindset. I know you take a pounding, but that's your mindset. You're going out there and playing a darn game. 40 out of the 52 weeks, you're playing a darn game. Some way, somehow, you will get yourself out there and get it done.
I think Jack is really, really getting a little nutty.
It's mindset. You could do it.
Yes, it is. And my mindset says right now you did a great
That's why they say the modern athlete is wimpy. That's 17 out of
40 games, Jack?
You did.
No, listen, you're not tackling as hard. I could understand.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Jim, take it easy.
Listen,
Jack, the physical demands that ask for your body. There is nobody who can play 40 games.
So again, let's move into Jack. Let's move into the NFL real quick. So
you did. We just did.
Well, I don't know where you were, but anyways. So Jim, let's talk a little bit about the Cowboys, what they're up to, what they're thinking about. I mean, we know Amari Cooper is gone. We know that CeeDee Lamb is the new number one quarterback. Receiver. We also know that, you have a tight end over there that's going to be a franchise tag. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, he is. And it's interesting because he was ranked one of the top tight ends. And I'm not saying that ESPN is to say all but he was ranked one of the top tight ends in the league in the top 10. And when you look at his stats, it is true that he was one of the top tight ends. Playing under the franchise tag, I think he gets $10.7 million under the tag. But is that the position they have to really – what they're going to have to do is those receivers have got to play well. Gallup won't be there at the beginning of the season, so some of these younger receivers are going to have to. Washington, the one they got from Pittsburgh, has been a disappointment so far. Hopefully that'll turn around when training camps start, but he hasn't been a factor. He's struggled injury-wise. The kid they're really excited about is Tolbert, the kid they got from South Alabama, more than Washington, and that's going to be big for him. But the big thing of him is the health of their offensive line. Their offensive line's health is going to be crucial for them to have any chance, and that is Tyron Smith because he's had lower back issues, and they said it's not a big deal, but he hasn't played a full season in the last 2 or 3 seasons, and that's going to be a factor.
So we know that, again, that CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are kind of interchangeable here. Do you think CeeDee Lamb is ready for this, Jim? I mean, listen.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Byron and me and Byron had a long discussion about that. I wasn't a big CeeDee Lamb fan, but Byron brought up some good points, and Byron Williams. But here's the thing about it: this guy has been a lead receiver before. He's been a number one receiver, not at the NFL level.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, at Oklahoma and in high school. So he understands what it's like, and he's taking the challenge on. And that number he's wearing is iconic in Cowboy history. The Drew Pearsons, the Michael Irvins, they just don't give that to anybody.
Right.
And that's the thing. And I think this kid understands that he's gotten bigger and stronger, which I didn't think. I thought he was too slender to be the number one receiver, but he's taken the challenge. In this offseason, he has done tremendous work because he knows he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
But his hands were so last year. He dropped
the year before, and he did lead them in receptions last year. And the year before, he was really good. And I think he understands how important for him, for the Cowboys' success, is how important it is for him to be the guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of the guy, is this make or break for Ezekiel Elliott? We hear that in New York with Saquon Barkley. This is it. No more excuses. If Ezekiel Elliott is just so this year, no better than average, I think the Cowboys finally move on from him.
They probably will anyway. But here's the thing people don't realize about Zeke Elliott, and he has struggled, but he still has the most rushing yards of any running back in the last 5 years combined, which is unusual for a guy we always talk about. And that shows you the lower shelf life for running backs because he's taken a punishment. So we'll see. This is supposedly the healthiest he's been in the last couple of years, but it's hard for running backs to come back.
Are they going to rely more on Pollard this year?
I think they are. I think Pollard is going to be taking more of the load off of Elliott. But if Elliott can be halfway, then that gives them an advantage having Pollard and Elliott together.
So in other words, Zeke Elliott may go to the Washington Commanders. He might go somewhere else for a year and see what he does there and play for his keep. So I mean, that's really interesting to me, Jim, that you got a quarterback that played 2 years ago, almost went to the Super Bowl, or they did go to the Super Bowl without him, and now you got a running back that might take you to the Super Bowl. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. But history tells us when those running backs start to go downhill, they don't recover. I mean, one of the greatest running backs in Cowboy history went to the Cardinals, and he was never the same. Yeah. Tony Dorsett going to the Denver Broncos, and you very rarely find running backs that are not in their prime go to other teams and have that same success. I mean,
what they do.
Remember is for you the Giants, Otis Anderson.
Right?
Jim, they go into
St. Louis.
Jim, they go into boxing now. Who are you picking between Le'Veon Bell and Adrian Peterson? Why didn't we talk about that?
I'm picking Peterson.
We might get to that. We might get to that because that is NFL related. But I want to talk a little bit.
NFL players are going to watch that. They're going to buy the fight or whatever.
True. I agree. So I will probably watch it.
Frank Gore was in that boxing.
It's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. After the first round, they're like, "Whoa, I'm going back to football."
So Jimmy Johnson loves the headlines, wants to be in the headlines, wants to grab them all the time. Do you think that he's trying to make this part of his show this year? I mean, part of his carnival. Is this Jimmy Jones at his best? Or
Jerry Jones to me.
Jerry Jones is a salesman, and anytime that he can get in the papers or media, and negative or positive, it sells. You can love him and hate him, but you're going to pay him. That's how he thinks about it. That's to be honest with you. He is one of the best salesmen. I mean, you got to be careful with Jerry because he could sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. That's just the way he is. And he understands that the more publicity he gets, the more interest. Like you guys always said, the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years, but they're on the front page. That's incredible within itself because there are other teams that haven't won and they're not on the front page. But he always likes to get them out there and likes to keep interest in them.
I can't debate any of that. I mean, you have teams that have won Super Bowls that don't get as much credit as
well, Jerry always picks up the check, I heard, whenever he's with the guys. He always picks it up.
That is true.
That's just awesome to me. So let's get to the fight, man. I mean, we got Adrian Peterson against Le'Veon Bell. Adrian is going to Hall of Fame. Le'Veon is going to go, I don't know where when he's done. He'd probably go rap some songs out or something. But if you think about it, right? I mean, if you think about it, Adrian Peterson should put a hurting on this dude.
What gets me is this, okay? The nerve of these guys to think they can just take up boxing and they can get to world champion status. Imagine a boxer who's any age, 25 years old, doesn't have a football background, a great athlete, great at boxing. Oh, I'm going to play in the NFL. I'm going to be a star in the NFL. Come on. I mean, that's ludicrous. Maybe a Tyson Fury, you could teach him to do something, wedge block or something, a big body. If you spend a few years with him, put him on the special teams, that wouldn't even work out. But the nerve of these guys, Le'Veon Bell he's saying he's quitting football to concentrate on his boxing career. That's not why he's quitting football. He's not any good anymore. That's the reason why no one wants him. He was lousy with the Jets, lousy with the Chiefs after leaving the Steelers, and that's that. And Peterson is at the end of the line. He's had a great career, and who cares who wins that boxing match between them?
But, Jack, here's the thing. One off season, I went with Ken Norton Jr., and we had I forgot his name, but he was a former professional boxer, and he trained us. And it was the most physically demanding thing that I've ever done. Yeah. I've wrestled, I've done martial arts, and the boxing was one of the most physically demanding things I've ever done. I didn't even realize I had muscles in places. that I was sore at boxing. And I know how difficult it is to do the boxing. You think it's easy, but it's different muscles you use. And that's why I have so much respect for boxers. And you're right. These are not really boxers. I mean, these are guys that want to keep their names out there, but it's a whole different sport.
Well, you know, I joked about Too Tall Jones, but his bid to become a boxer was serious. I do give him credit, but he was like a young novice learning, but he was learning. Whether he would have gone anywhere, I seriously question that had it continued. But he was taking the path that a real fighter would take. It wasn't just an isolated exhibition the way these guys are doing it. So that was the difference involved. So I actually respect the way Too Tall went about things. Okay, they matched them very carefully, the way they should have. But that you do that with any young, fighter coming up. But these exhibitions, now listen, if people tune into it, then it's good for the sport. If somehow enough, I'm not putting it down if they can do business, but it's kind of laughable. If they were willing to take on a real fight, it's another matter. Now we have Jake Paul, the YouTube guy. Madison Square Garden, what they did, they made him at least in the main event August 6th. He's fighting Hasim Rahman's son, who's at least a legitimate boxer. They're not allowing him in in the mixed martial artist, the UFC guy, and at least Jake Paul is going through an apprenticeship right now. He's in the gym, he's fighting, but you can only go so far. If he ever gets to a little higher level, that's when he's going to completely become unglued. He can only go so far.
Yeah, I do. Hey, I respect him, man. I mean, he's in there. He's working hard. He's trying to learn boxing. And, listen, there's a lot of people, as you said, Jack, out there that are pretenders. This guy is really trying.
Yeah. And but I just don't get it. I mean, any other sport to go into, an NFL player, if he wants to become a Major League Baseball player, if you have a background, if you've done it in high school, you were really, really good in high school, you can maybe make an adjustment. Like when Michael Jordan tried baseball. Okay, Tim Tebow, let's talk about a football player. I went to a Met exhibition game, and I was right behind the plate. Okay, I'm in Florida, exhibition game. Tim Tebow makes perfect contact, full force. I thought it was a home run. The ball dies out right before the center fielder because he didn't have that natural knack. And I've seen enough balls come off the bat when I know it's going to be a home run. In his best swing, the ball kind of died out. And this was a guy who was strong as a bull as a quarterback, but he couldn't generate the same power hitting, a ball with a bat.
But in recent years, we had Kyler Murray, who was drafted by the Oakland A's.
But he was as much a baseball player as he was.
But he did, and that was going to be my point. He did play in the offseason. His baseball is a sport, but it's also a skill that you have to work on it continuously to be good at it.
How many sports you wrestled and you played baseball?
And ran track. No, I didn't.
Ran track. You didn't play baseball. Okay.
I played as a kid, but never in a
If you concentrated on one of the other sports instead of football, how far do you think you could have gone?
That's hard to say. Basketball, obviously, because of certain things, it depends on what position I would have played. Because I'm 6'5", so I'm guard size, but I have the size of a forward. As a weight-wise,
you're a tweener.
I would have been a Barkley type of player, and he's a little taller than I am.
Would you have been good enough to make a roster for Division I? I'm not talking about make a roster, make a team. If you play for Arizona basketball, could you have made the roster?
I don't think so. At Arizona State, but they did want me to wrestle at Arizona State, and I didn't want to wrestle in college, but I could have made it. But that's the thing. And in track, I could run, but you're asking me to do something that's, at that time they didn't have the Usain Bolts. they had the guys that were smaller guys running it. So
no offense, Jim. I'm sure I know you're very quick on the football field, but I couldn't see you for the 100-meter dash. You're big body lining up with those guys.
I was a 200 guy. Never
200 guy. Okay. DK Metcalf actually tried it like a year ago, and I give him a lot of credit. He lined up against the 100-meter guys, and he came in last. Yeah. I mean, the ballot track runners, DK did a heck of a job, and big respect to him for getting out there and laying it on the line. But that's what it puts it into perspective. You're going into another guy's territory. And you want to know something? Some of those 100-meter guys maybe might have a hard time with their football speed in the beginning. You put them up there all of a sudden.
Yes and no, because I played with one of a very successful football player that won a silver medal in the Olympics, Ron Brown, at the University of Arizona State. And we're still to this day very good friends. And he won he won a bronze medal in the Olympics. And he was a tremendous football player. But it's a lot of times with professional football players, and they love to run track, but it's hard. Herschel Walker was a great track guy.
Great athlete.
Big guy, a great athlete. And then you know, sometimes when you transition to other sports, all the things don't go with you. You know, you got the Bo Jacksons, the Deion Sanders, and Kurt, the guy that used to play for the Detroit, Kurt Gibson was a tremendous piece. He would have been a first rounder in football. They're unique that when guys can go to different sports, but you never hear about great football players being boxers. They can, you know.
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't.
But you don't hear about boxers being great football players either.
Correct. Correct. Sometimes you get an athlete who's amazing. I mean, he never tried boxing to my knowledge, but Bo Jackson, I mean, Howie Long said he was teammates with Bo Jackson. He said about Bo Jackson, to him, football was a hobby. He just showed up and he dominated. I mean, it was ridiculous that he just would show up. And you know?
Some guys, to be honest with you, Jack, some guys are just better than everybody else. And that's just to be realistic in any sport. I mean, you look at some of the guys, Muhammad Ali was just better than the majority of guys he fought in his intelligence.
But chances are Muhammad Ali would not have been good in basketball.
He would have been good in football.
No, he was too scared. They asked him. He said it was too rough a game for him.
Trust me,
he didn't like getting hit, knocked down. It was too bad. He said it wasn't for him.
If he would have focused on it, Jack, because people don't realize how big Ali was. Well, Ali was bigger than people think. I mean,
he was at that time. He was a big athlete, like 6'3" to 6'4".
Yeah,
210.
He was
he was good buddies with the great Jim Brown. Mm-hmm. And people used to say Jim Brown was such a fantastic athlete. He could have even been heavyweight champion of the world.
He probably could.
Jim Brown was walking with Ali one day and telling him that he thinks he could be champion, this and that. And they were walking, and Ali said, "Jim, I won't hit you at all. You just tried to hit me. And tried to hit me as hard as he can." And Jim Brown started firing away and missed every punch with Ali. And Jim Brown reportedly said this just isn't for him. I don't think it would have worked out with Jim Brown. Great athlete. I mean, great lacrosse player, great football player. I think the one sport you could adjust to, guys, not football, not boxing. I think certain of these other great athletes could pick up basketball a little quicker. There's something about basketball. I do think you could make an adjustment a little quicker.
What do you think, Mac?
I don't know. I mean, I a little bit about me before we go. Of course, I played baseball all the way up into senior high, and I took off because my father had a restaurant. And the coaches begged me to come back. I mean, they wanted me to come back. I batted like 338, 20 home runs, drove in like, 50 runs or something like that. So I had a really good year. And when I played football, I put everything I had in the sport. I just loved football, the contact. I love being hit. I love hitting. So it was a great sport for me. Basketball, I had a nice shot. and I was pretty good as a point guard. So maybe I could have. I don't know, Jim, but I hear you that maybe basketball is maybe the easiest to conform to because you're really not getting hit all the time. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's
so
true.
maybe I agree with you there. So
Yeah, in basketball, but some of the other sports, because of the skills to be successful. Baseball, people don't realize it, and you can argue with me all you want, but you got to have certain skills. You got to have the eye and hand coordination. You got to be able to feel things to be a great baseball player, or even an adequate baseball player.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. You've got to.
I think the name's Devon Allen on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes,
he's running the 110-meter hurdles in the World Championships, and he has a shot at actually winning the gold medal there. But there's a guy who makes the adjustment with hurdler, football. I think.
Yeah, but he's got a tougher time making the Eagles than he does winning the World Championship.
With that athletic potential, I don't think they cut guys like that. I just
practice
don't
squad
think.
maybe, but he's not going to make the active roster. Not with the talent the Eagles
Look
have.
at Skeets Nehemiah. Did you play against him?
Yes, I did, and he
was awful as a football player. Awful.
He wasn't
I
awful.
hated him.
He was okay.
Oh,
he was.
He
okay.
wasn't okay. The 49ers.
He was okay. Carl
had him
Lewis
as an
actually
experiment.
went to camp with us one year, and he said,
Cowboys said, I think they drafted him.
We drafted him in the 12th round.
But yeah, why would Carl Lewis want to give up his Olympic career to play football? That would have been ludicrous.
He thought about that after he got hit the first time.
Carl Lewis is head track coach. Oh, he did. Yeah.
That's
what did he expect? He wasn't going to get hit.
The
The
thing
Cowboys.
with Carl Lewis, he didn't play football.
Bob Hayes, Bullet Bob Hayes,
But that's
a legend.
different. He played football in
Gold
college.
medalist, but gold medalist in the 100 meters. Henry Carr, the Giants had an Olympian. We always wondered when I was a kid if Bob Hayes caught a pass and Henry Carr, who was a cornerback, was behind them, a cornerback / safety, could Henry Carr have caught Bob Hayes? We always had that imaginary thing. But you're holding the football, you're running with it. It slows you down just that little iota as compared to the guy behind you who doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Of course. Guys, we got to get out of here.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We had a great time. Robert, Keith, Pags, Jim, and of course Jack, both great at what they do. And listen, had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys join us again next week. We'll be on same time. We'll be on 8 to 10 a.m. And This Week in Sports might be the big football show. We see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
40 games. Let me take it back. 40 games is a little too much. 26 games every other week. Let me go
Yeah,
back.
we'll talk
40
about this
games is
next
a
week.
little off.
We sure will.
I go back on that. I regret
Folks,
that.
have a great day, folks.
Games a year.
All right.